The Paradox of Infinite Versions. Year 3126. Charlie Wilkins stood in the middle of a city that looked like it had been pulled straight out of a science fiction novel. Levitating buildings, translucent highways in the sky, AI-driven life forms. And through it all, he felt himself slipping. Ever since Elias, the cursed immortal, told him, "You're in too deep," Charlie had been questioning reality. But now, something inside him was fracturing. He wasn't just seeing the future. He was seeing versions of himself, walking in every direction, dressed differently, speaking different languages, even living out completely different lives. He stumbled into a mirrored alleyway, catching a glimpse of 7 reflections. Each one blinked back differently. One waved, another frowned, one cried. The rest stood frozen, as if they were waiting. Suddenly, his mind was flooded with memories of lives he hadn't lived, yet somehow remembered. In one, he was a world-renowned musician. In another, a monk living in the Himalayas. In another, a criminal mastermind on the run. A scientist, a politician, a humble baker, a soldier. All of them, him. And they were all happening at once. Charlie collapsed, clutching his head. Time warped, space bent, and then silence. A voice echoed through the void. "You are now living every life you could have lived. Welcome to the quantum self." Charlie found himself in a strange white chamber. A digital interface appeared in front of him. A message glowed on the screen. "You are experiencing the multiverse collapse phenomenon. All branches of your possible existence are now converging. Only one version of you can survive." Charlie gasped. "Survive? What happens to the others?" A holographic figure appeared. It was him, in a lab coat, one of the versions. "We're not supposed to meet," the scientist Charlie said. "But the paradox has torn down the walls. Now we all exist in the same moment." Charlie shook his head. "This is insane. How do I fix it?" "By choosing." "Choosing what?" "Which Charlie lives on." The interface displayed all the variations of his life. Thousands of timelines, each representing a different version of himself. He saw a Charlie who never took risks, lived safely, died quietly. A Charlie who became rich but ruthless. A Charlie who lived a peaceful, anonymous life on a farm. A Charlie who sacrificed everything to help others. Each path had beauty. Each had flaws. Charlie's hands trembled. "How am I supposed to choose who I am?" he whispered. The scientist version stepped forward. "Most people never realize they could have lived countless lives. You're one of the few who gets to see them all. But there's a cost." Charlie's breath caught. "What's the cost?" The interface darkened. The room went cold. "Choose or collapse into nothing." But then, another voice echoed. This time from a new version. A younger Charlie, full of idealism. "Why should we let a machine define who's worthy of existing? Maybe the paradox isn't about choosing. Maybe it's about accepting." Charlie panicked. Each version of himself had memories, feelings, dreams. He wasn't just deciding his future. He was deciding which reality becomes real. His thoughts splintered. "Or what if I choose wrong? Oh, what if I regret it? What if I am all of them?" The versions began to argue. Chaos broke out. Voices clashed. Emotions collided. Then suddenly, silence. He took a deep breath. "I won't choose." The interface flickered. Error. Refusal. Paradox intensifying. The walls began to crumble. The room twisted sideways. Everything bent. Then out of nowhere, the voice of Elias returned. "Smart choice, kid. You've learned the truth. You don't have to pick one life. You just have to stop fearing them all." Suddenly, all versions of Charlie stood still and smiled. They began walking toward him, merging like streams into a single river. Charlie closed his eyes. And in that moment, he became whole. Charlie opened his eyes. He was back, in the present day, sitting at a park bench. Birds chirped, kids laughed, no futuristic tech, no split timelines. Everything seemed normal. Until he reached into his pocket and pulled out a newspaper dated 31/26. He smiled. Somehow, he had integrated every version of himself. He hadn't chosen one life. He had accepted them all. He felt different, stronger, wiser, aware. But just as he thought it was over, his phone buzzed. A message. Next paradox unlocked. Below it, the town that was cursed and became the happiest place on Earth. Charlie looked up at the sky. Bring it on. Behind him, a shadow watched and whispered, He's ready. To be continued. Whoa. What would you do if you had to choose from every version of yourself? Or would you embrace them all? Comment below and share your favorite version of Charlie. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of Paradox Stories. Next episode. The town that was cursed and became the happiest place on Earth. You're not ready for this one.